And welcome back, everybody, to the Podcaster Nation. That's right. I said welcome back because I know you were just listening to some of our other stuff, just like I was. And you came back because you wanted some more. And we have a lot more for you. We really do. We have a fantastic guest today. You guys are going to absolutely love this gentleman. He has a plethora of stuff to offer and to talk about. I want to make sure that you guys all understand what you're listening to, though, because this is the podcast that is about podcasters. It's for podcasters. It's done by podcasters. This is a place where we come together to support each other in our community. If you are not a part of the Podcaster Nation, the private group over on Facebook, apply. All you have to do is have a podcast and you're in. Okay. Come on in and join us because this is the place where the rising tide raises all ships. Let's get ready to go. I am really excited about this. We'll be drinking our coffee today and knocking some things out. Please join me in welcoming to this show the unbelievably accomplished gentleman that is with us today. He has 6 podcasts, done over 1,500 episodes. Um, Awakening, Meditation, Learn Polish, the Crypto Podcast, the Podfather, and the Speaking Podcast. I mean, this guy has covered the entire gamut of podcasting right here. Cannot wait to talk to this guy. Please welcome Roy Coughlin. Did I say it right?
Thank you.
Colin?
You did indeed. Yeah, Coughlin. Yeah, it's
All
grand. Yeah,
right, Roy.
thank you very much, Rory, for
All
having me on
right.
the show.
Thanks for coming on, Roy. I appreciate it very much. Listen, other than me still struggling with your name, and I certainly apologize, tell everybody who is Roy Collin, and what are you about? What brings you here today, brother?
Well, I suppose the first thing I can say is I struggled with most of my guest names. I've even gone to the stage with a form that I say, please write how to pronounce your name. Because when someone tells you just beforehand, you think, oh, grand, I'll just say it. And it never comes out right. So I have butchered so many names, but thankfully, most people, it's grand. It's all good. Yeah. So.
Appreciate you letting me off the hook with that one. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm living in Łódź in Poland. I'm here from 18 years, and I'm originally from Cork in Ireland, which is the south of Ireland. I studied construction economics and management, worked for a mechanical contractor for 2 companies for about 12 years, and then started doing real estate and a lot of stuff in Poland. I've kind of worked on about, I say 20 companies. It could be more, I don't track everything, but as of this count, I can remember 20. And I suppose like it's about how I got into the podcasting, I suppose, is kind of a strange one as well because I done a load of the real estate and I was doing actually very well. And I created syndicates and there was a lot of Irish investors and big boys. I was like the little fish, even though I was doing okay, the 3 houses in Ireland, and then I started getting into things, released equity. Everything was going good. Crash happened, and I still was doing okay. And they started losing everything. And I thought it was a hiccup and it'd come right. And I started putting more of my money into commercial and different projects that we're doing. We were building 30 apartments, we were building houses. And then it kind of, they didn't get it right. And eventually I started getting into trouble and I went to the banks and I said, look, give me interest only on the commercial and I'm splitting it into sites. And not really. And my interest only, 3 properties in Ireland, they changed it to repayments. So everything just kind of changed overnight.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was the president of all of the companies in Poland, and nobody said that I was personally liable. And I know this is a kind of strange one. People go, "Hey, well, why are you talking about this?" But there's a reason because of podcasting, the whole thing came about, and I was personally liable. So instead of making 5 million when I'd finished all these projects, I was personally liable for 5 million, and that's dollars or euro because it depends on the way the currency fluctuates at the time. And through that, saw so much corruption and went to an event a few years ago. I ended up clearing the decks, but it took a few years. And went to an event, and the event was What's Your Quest? And at that time, I said, okay, I need to expose this because this is an international thing. I want people to know the amount of corruption going on with bailiffs, with courts, with banks, with everything. And there was brilliant speakers there. I hated public speaking. So when I came back, I said, I want to be good at public speaking. I was around 45 at this stage. Like I was late to the game because it was just one thing I didn't like. Even though I was running big jobs in Ireland, the one part I hated was when you were with the architect, the builder, the client of a project. It was my pain point. So I went to Toastmasters, joined it, joined another one, formed my own club, became a coach of a club, entered all competitions, got into the final of 5 countries, did an open mic TEDx, did open comedy, and just kind of went from one extreme to the other where I no longer had a crutch telling myself, oh, I'm a bad speaker or I don't like speaking, to that no longer exists. And during that time, there was a guy done a workshop at an event I went to on podcasting. Never even thought of it, but I said, oh, this sounds interesting. And I was like, hey, I can do this. And it was always about the exposing, which is the Awakening podcast. But I said, I know I'm going to be attacked for this. I need to learn my craft. So speaking podcast was it was in 2018, it was the very first podcast. And because I knew so many people, because I had spoke all around Europe speaking and went to events, that I knew I had plenty of people to be a guest. And that's how the whole kind of podcasting started.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I've never tried that. That sounds good. Let's go take a look at podcasting. I think, to be completely honest, that's probably how a lot of us got into podcasting in the first place, was we kind of came across it, or we were listening to one and we said, "Man, I can do this. I think I can do this." So I love it. So you just jumped out and did that. I don't think that you're late to the game at all, brother. Let me just tell you that. So maybe it's because I'm a little long in the tooth, but I don't think you're late in the game at all. I was in real estate too, so everything you're telling me right now, I'm feeling the pain right along with you. I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, ow, and you know what? Kudos to you though. I mean, to go from projecting 5 million plus to being a negative five and walking out of it, I you know what? You accomplished something huge there, just to be able to get back to ground zero. So I hope you give yourself some grace for that, brother. And you know,
Well,
uh,
I
that's an
what it's
accomplishment.
actually done is it's made me realize to be totally present in the day and enjoy life as you go along, instead of building for wealth for the future and thinking that's going to bring happiness. So
Nice.
even though I don't want to repeat and say, "Oh, I'm a different person. I'm a way better person because of it."
I love that. That's great. So you start the first podcast though, right? You're doing some public speaking. You feel good about this. You get the speaking podcast going. How do you, what goes on in your head that says, I'm going to go do five more?
I must got hit by a brick or something.
There's a lot of people out there who are going, five more? How? So how do you
So
get to the five more, brother?
the thing is, they were over at the time. So the second and third were kind of in the next year. So they're 6 years now. So meditation was the next one. And what happened is when I was going through all this losses and everything, the one thing that saved me was a meditation. I came across a 6 phase meditation. And it's basically kind of like what you're grateful for and forgiveness. Because basically, what you normally do is you think of the lack you're thinking, and you've got a lot of these kind of debt collection agencies just ringing and abusing you. I don't think it's as bad now because people record them and they're not allowed to do that, but you don't know at the time, you just accept it. And all they're doing is instead of like trying to help you and figure out a way, they're just trying to destroy you. And you're getting letters from government saying, hey, we'll put you on a publication. I've lost everything. What are you trying to do? Kick me while I'm on the ground. And you're going, like, this is a bully boy tactic. So when you see that, and so the meditation helped me. It was like, I'm grateful for, I get a cuddle off my son, I've got a roof over my head and put food in my belly, things like that. And the other one was the act of forgiveness. And that was a really important one. It was because when we have a lack, whether it's a business, whether it's a relationship, whatever, there's always anger there. And what we don't realize is that anger is actually in us. It's not that they're thinking about us. And when you actually learn to forgive, I think it's the most powerful thing that I've ever learned in my life. There was some of them were easy because there was some people, even builders and stuff, that had done some stuff that they didn't put in, the drainage and stuff like that, just trying to get as much invoices as they could. And then you're kind of angered that you're after losing so much money because of the corruption that people done in courts. But I said, I need to forgive them. And there was some were easy and others were hard. And how I changed it is I brought them back to the child. I said, we've unconditional love for a child. You see a baby holds your finger, you just you get weak. It's a beautiful experience. And I brought him back to the child and I said, they were born pure and natural with love, but through circumstances surrounding him, whether alcoholic parent, abusive parent, or they were in the wrong neighborhood and they just couldn't get out of it, or the parents were working so hard, left them hanging around with the wrong people. That's why they became who they did. So by bringing them back to the child, I actually was able to forgive him. But what I learned is it relieved it from me. Because sometimes you'll hear people, they go through something and you see them when they're reliving the story, they're in tears, you can see the anger and everything. And when you can relive a story without doing that, you've forgiven. And I think everyone should try to work on that. I'm not saying it's easy, you just keep doing it. But so oh, I'm getting around to the meditation podcast. I know it's a long way, but they started taking away these different meditations. And when you're after losing everything, you're watching every penny. And I was like, I want people to have a meditation that's free forever. And that's why I created it. And because I've been at different events, I knew a lot of people. So a lot was they give me meditations, and sometimes it's an interview, and they give me and it's talking about breath work or yoga and different things. And a lot of it is just kind of finding the calmness with people. And when you find something that actually centers you, and that was my main purpose, is that it's free and that you don't need money to actually listen to this. It was mainly helping society.
Wow, nice. Interesting. So that's, I mean, that's the meditation podcast. That's where that one comes from then, is this whole, awakening type thing that you have with that particular subject. Um, I love that. So that's where that one comes from. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, we still have four more to cover, brother.
I tried to do these other ones, but
So what's, no, take your time because I love the story. There's a story behind each one, man. Go for it. What's next?
okay, learn Polish. So when I came to Poland first, I went to the university to learn, and they put me into a class with people that were experienced in the language, and I'd none, and it was a waste of money because I'd no Polish. So then I was running a few companies then, and I did a lot of business. So then I was getting like somebody that was teaching me. They were coming to my premises after I finished work, but I was tired because I'm an early bird, and I'd be working kind of, full steam ahead, and then I was trying to do lessons. And there was a few times I nodded off during the lesson. And what she done is she got me to juggle tennis balls and walk around. And that was surprising. That actually helped. And then I kind of stopped, and then I done another lesson. I ended up actually marrying my teacher. We're divorced, but we still have a good relationship because we have a son together. And I was trying to help her. She is a school. I was trying to help her school. I said, look, we can do a learn Polish, but it was kind of for me as well because I said it's a way of me continuing doing the language. And I feel that the way education is, it's all about pushing grammar and pushing all these things. Like to talk to people, oh, there's 16 tenses, simple present, simple past. And you're like, well, just have a conversation. And that was the purpose. It's like, what do you need? Okay, you go to a mechanic, how do you change your tire? You go to a dentist, just 5 to 10 minutes. And it's got millions of downloads. It's like, it's done very well. And it's kind of just to be enjoyable. And, there's the video and the audio, but it was really kind of helping me as well and not pushing. It's not that we don't cover grammar because, you build on it, but not grammar, grammar, grammar. Because what I found is I do a lesson and I get tired. And I like that means that I'm switching off. So I want people to not switch off. So I created it in a way that helps me, but I know helps. And the amount of comments that come in, I believe the education system should focus on that. Because once you have a conversation, that makes it easy. You can then develop more depending on the job you're doing. But what they try to do is they get you all to write it perfectly. I had a lot of people working for me in Paul. There was a lot of them, they've had master degrees and everything. I'm convinced they could beat me in a test, in a written test, the way that they were writing, but in a conversation they couldn't. And so they're pushing the wrong things on. So the most important thing is to be able to have a conversation, because no matter where you go in the world, if you're speaking a language, if you learn Spanish and you go somewhere, you're not going to be writing down things. The most important thing is to be able to speak and to enjoy it and everyday activities. So that's the purpose of that podcast.
There's so much that you just unpack there, in terms of of I studied I made the huge mistake of studying French when I was in high school, and because it's cool, and then I can go to France and I can like order some food, right? Because you just think it's neat. I would have had much more use for either Latin or Spanish in the real world, especially being here in the States. And so, I know what you're talking about when they want to teach you all the different tenses and the proper this and the proper that. It's like they want you to write perfectly, and you're learning a new language. So if you are speaking, though, even if you're getting some things wrong, if you can communicate, you can function. And that really is the world we live in right now. I love that viewpoint. And man, if they would teach it that way, I think you'd have a whole lot more people getting involved in languages and trying to grow themselves in that way.
Yeah, and my son, my youngest son, he's 11, so his mom's Polish, so his native language is Polish, and yet he gets top marks in English. And it's not just because I'm speaking English. It was like first thing is if he wanted to watch a cartoon or something like that, it's in English. Like we bought like The Simpsons, we'd watch The Simpsons. But even now, like I got books. I'm a big reader. I got him books, and we had a competition to read the books. And you'd be surprised. Like they can be easy enough, but like he slashed his tire or he done this, he jumped different wording ways of doing it. And he said, what's that about? What's that about? Because what happened is we were watching some movie and there was a text and it was easy enough. and he didn't know it. And I was like, ooh, I failed here. Like, and so I addressed that. And even now, like when, if he's with his mum, we're writing on WhatsApp, I never kind of bash him if he spells it wrong. I'll just reply with the correct spelling or even say it in a nice way. Whereas I know that loads of times in Poland, the people, they're just pushing, they're giving out to you because you've said something wrong and you just have to think of it yourself. If I feel good and it doesn't hurt me, I'm encouraged to do it more. And more parents should do that with their kids instead of trying to push it down their throat and kind of give out to them and make them do things. Get them to do something that they love. If they like music, okay, you can do music. Why don't you do a song in that language? And you can be sure that they'd love to do that instead of making them do things that is boring from. And then that way they're, because once they know the word, then everything else falls into place.
Nice. I'm starting to see a theme here. You keep going back to the kids. In meditation, it was go back to the kids, and go back to how you feel at that. And in this, it's go back to the kids and how do you teach kids? That seems to be a pretty important theme in your life.
Well, if we want change in the world, sometimes we think we can change the adults and kind of change their ways, but if we make things in place for the younger generation that are more heart-centered, that's where the changes will happen.
I love that. I love that message right there. I mean, if we stopped right there, that'd be a perfect podcast. You're good to go, brother. I love it. All right. So that is the Learn Polish podcast, which has millions of downloads because I guess I wouldn't have guessed there's that many people who want to learn Polish, but my goodness, millions of downloads. Congratulations on that.
And I mean, I'll kind of give you a little marketing tip, which will help a lot of those that are podcasters. What
Please.
I've done on that is a lot of times when people have a show, they just blast it out to their LinkedIn and their Facebook, and that's it. And Grant, yeah, they'll put it out there and let the world find it if they do. I joined all different groups, so I have about 50 groups in Facebook. Foreigners in Poland, foreigners in Warsaw. Polish in Ireland, Polish in UK, Polish in Chicago, big Polish community there. Because a lot of the time they're meeting, the spouse is local or whatever, and then they maybe come back to the grandmothers and stuff like that, and they'd like to have a few words or the grandchildren to teach them a few words. So I was in the right community. And that's what I encourage every podcaster to do. Go into groups that are relevant, but don't just blast it out there. So I'll try to connect and have a bit of communication, but don't just go into and don't go into groups that are just podcasters for the odd time it might work, but it's like a doctor convention trying to find a patient. Same thing, it's not going to work out for you.
Right. You don't go to a group full of doctors if you're looking for a patient.
Exactly, exactly. So that's what we're doing. Because a lot of people, that's what they do. They'll go into 10 podcasting groups and they'll post it into 10 podcasting groups and they're wondering why, hey, why aren't I getting the downloads that I deserve?
Right.
Just find the right groups that are relevant and you'll get more downloads.
I love that. And it seems so simple. Like, well, that's what you would do. You would go to where your customer is. Where is your listener? And yet so few people do that.
Exactly.
That's such a great call out. I love that you just did that. All right. So that is the Learn Polish podcast. Brother, what's next?
The Awakening is the next one. So that was the baby that was kind of ready, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna be attacked here, and I was. I got kicked off YouTube. I got even my link tree got removed and everything. But yet the stuff that I came up with even 4 years ago turns out everything was true. I don't just wing it. I don't just throw stuff out there. I try to do my research. I read a load of books. I'm surrounded by a lot of people that give me information, give me stuff. So even if I'm having a conversation, and I even tell people on the like that are listening to the show, don't believe anything I say. Because sometimes people think because someone has said it or ChatGPT says it, that it's gospel. No, no. Just make it, just be curious. Open your mind to listening to what was said and then go away and do your own research. But also on that kind of topic, because you've people having fights in the house based on different belief systems. And I know in the States, it's like, yeah, you're red or you're blue and they hate each other. It's like, why? Like, I mean, no, we're all brothers and sisters and all, just more love, not hate. And it's a case of question why that person thinks like that. And if you go away and do a Google search on your belief system, you'll find plenty of answers. And same with AI and everything, but rephrase the question. Try to look at it from both sides. And then just try to go, okay, where are they getting their information? And then listen to, like, Not because sometimes people say, "Oh, it's science," and just who's paying the scientists, and is there
Hmm.
someone funding it themselves? And just taking off the layers, look at it like an onion. You go, "Oh, it's totally different to what I think." And don't ever hate somebody because of a different belief system, because we're all, especially with the algorithms and everything, they're pushing. So you're reinforced with your belief system. So don't hate somebody from that. That's orchestrated, but just accept it and just kind of be open to a different opinion. And I've got friends, they totally have different beliefs to me, and we laugh and joke about it. And that's the way everybody should be.
That's amazing that you can do that still. And yes, in the States, the let's say that the volume is turned up very, very high on the shouting that comes from your side and the shouting that goes to the other side. There is no common ground anymore, anymore at all. And to be able to have that is rare. To be able to sit back and have a conversation with someone who believes differently than you is very, very rare. How do you do that? Maybe we can just, get away from podcasting for 2 seconds. Do you have any advice for people on how to do that? How to bring that rhetoric down and actually consider somebody else's viewpoint? Because you seem to be able to do it, and I don't know anybody here who really can.
I don't know, is it through breath work, meditation, or just being in touch with everything and being mindful and always paying attention? Like, even if we are having a conversation and I see something, I can see it could affect you, and just to be conscious of that and not coming from the ego, because I think the ego gets in the way a lot of the time. And it's like, why is that? And just question yourself. Like, I get angry at this. Why am I getting angry at that? And try to resolve every issue you have. Look within instead of thinking, of, oh, they're wrong, and this is the way society is. Just look within. And I think that's how we're going to change the world. It's like if we all kind of go, all right, how can I be the best version of myself? And like, for example, anger. Like, there was a time there, no way, like, I'm not an angry person, but I don't tolerate anything. If someone's not doing me wrong, I'm not afraid of people. I've done martial arts for years and everything. I've done all different things, boxing and kickboxing, and everything. But I'm not an aggressive person, but I won't tolerate it. But this sometimes then I'd let something simmer and then I'd blow up. And I was like, I don't like that. So then I started reading a few books on anger. And it's like, just check everything, why you are a certain way, why you think a certain way, and how you can be a better person. And I think by doing that, you're not thinking of winning in an argument. You're thinking about, I suppose, heart-centered. And that's how you'll make the change.
That's fantastic. I love that. Thank you for fielding that question too. It was, kind of out of the blue, and I appreciate you grabbing it and running with it. So, Awakening, that podcast is the one that really is about the government corruption that you talked about before, and wanting to expose it and proposing solutions for it as well.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Got it.
And even now, I'm doing with a co-host. We do one episode on it weekly, and we're just touching on what's going on in the world. We talk about AI, we talk about all the different countries, and you can see it all lines up, because sometimes people think this is just us. Everything is done everywhere, and it's nice to kind of see how it's orchestrated. And it just kind of, because then you're just sitting back and you're kind of listening and you're going, hey, that's actually happening here as well. And then you start putting the two things together, and then you start investigating, start and watch things. So we do a lot of research to kind of save people spending the hours, because unfortunately sometimes people are going out and they're spending the time on it. But intentionally, there's people that are pretending they're kind of, I call them the good boys on our side, and there's a lot of infiltrators. And then you're listening to the wrong stuff, thinking you're listening to the right stuff. So don't follow anybody, whether it's a president, whether it's any famous person. Follow yourself.
Yeah.
But just, you can listen and see what's going on. But if you start paying attention, everything lines up. You'll be able to spot all the things, how they're orchestrating everything. Normally, when something's happening here, they're pulling a string on the other side, and just, you start, when you get close to this, you realize what's going on.
Yeah. I having an open enough mind to do that seems to be, part of the hang up because, in order to look around and try to see what strings being pulled, you have to admit to yourself that you may have been duped. You may have been hoodwinked, and even though it happens on both sides, like in here in the United States, like you said, we have two sides. That's just it.
Mm.
There really is no middle. But even though you can see it on both sides, neither side wants to go, no, I was the one who was fooled. You know what I mean? So they only want to say the other side got fooled. So it's a gift when you can look at the whole world. And maybe that's part of the key is looking at it from more of a global view, in that way to see it isn't just happening here. It's happening all over the place. And if it's happening all over the place, then something has to be orchestrated somewhere.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
like
Wow.
my mother
I
used to
like that.
always be saying to me, oh, yeah, just get on with your life. Forget about it. Don't be worried about these things. And I'm like, no. And it comes back to the children again. If I, what, like, I see how much they're taking off people now, how much of your rights are gone, and all the different things that they do. And what's it going to be like for my young child and other children around the world? So if we kind of go, it's someone else's problem, it just gets worse and worse. So, and now my mom, like in the last few years, like she's sharing everything. She's sending stuff to me. She's realized that you can't just kind of live in your own little bubble because if you don't like what you see, you have two choices. You just put your head down and chug on with life, or you say, okay, this isn't. I'm not saying that you have to be, aggressive in protesting and everything, but even at local level, if you see the school board doing something wrong, hey, no. And that's how you change it because a good guy gets in and he changes the whole lot overnight. And unless you do that, raise a flag and go, hey, you can't be doing this kind of thing. You can't be pushing these kind of books in the school. You can't do this, you can't do that. Then it changes. And so everyone's vote counts.
Hmm. Nice. And like you said, it goes back to the children again.
Yeah.
All right. The theme continues. Okay, brother, that was number four. So there's two more. So what came next?
So the crypto and
Crypto.
yeah.
All right. I can't wait to hear about this because to me, crypto is something that I mean, you might as well be speaking Greek to me because I don't know that either.
It's like our French. I done French as well. Yeah. It
Right.
so so I saw there was a lot of corruption with the crypto and I I didn't want to incorporate it into Awakening, even though that's kind of exposing fraud and corruption, because I said not everyone's into blockchain technology. So you've been a listener, you go, that's not for me. And then I could lose listeners. And that's why I created something separate. And it was also about kind of learning it. But I'm spotting loads of different things because I'm doing it from a curious ground and just, I don't care what I ask. I just say, hey, the way I see it, and like I even saw the financial report of Binance. It was like it wasn't signed properly. It wasn't signed by an individual, it's signed by the company. That doesn't make it legally binding. There were a lot of things, and nobody on that these company owners and everything saw that. And like I'm always asking
Hmm.
people, who do you think created Bitcoin? And I just seen all the rug pulls and just looking at NFTs, and I'm really trying to protect people because there's the scammers everywhere, but they seem to be like a magnet to the crypto world. And the whole purpose was going, yeah, you can actually make some money, but I mean, my own thoughts is that I think the whole lot is orchestrated to get people into digital currency thinking they're not. And I've said it from the start, and everyone thought I was wrong. I was saying this is totally traceable, and they're going to come after you. And even if you've made millions, go, hey, you owe us this plus penalties plus, and I'm right. And most people think, I'm grand. And I know people, they've got loads of wallets and they're doing this and they're doing that. And unless you know how to protect yourself as a sovereign being, they'll go knocking on your door and they go, hey, we'll take that and lock you up, or they'll just. So most people, they think that this is a way of getting around the government, and there's not. And I cover a lot of different things. Same with payments, like PayPal. They take so much money for you, Mastercard and Visa as well, 3%. Just ways of how we can beat the system.
Hmm. Interesting. All right, that is one. Crypto's one I have not had a chance to listen to yet, but that sounds absolutely fascinating. I thought maybe it was more of an educational podcast on crypto, but you're talking about like what's behind it.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I'm gonna start listening to that one too. That's I'm tuning into that later on today. Wonderful. Okay, so that just leaves, and I'm Italian, so I kind of like this one, but that just leaves the Podfather. Tell me about the Podfather, man.
So I help people get on shows as well. And one guy, I got him on 250 shows, but I think it was around 100. He says, oh, you're the Podfather. And I just thought, that's good. I just liked it. And for those that, if you're not watching, if you're just listening, I've kind of done the logo like the Podfather. I have the mic over the mouth. And it's really because it kind of goes back to the awakening thing as well with the fraud and corruption. I saw the same with media. I mean, you'll see posts going around where all of the media are regurgitating the exact same thing, just pushing a lie. And whereas podcasters can get information out, have genuine conversations. Not saying that they're all right and everything, you have to be careful, but it's not manipulated like the media. You've got BBC protecting people, CNN, a whole lot of them. You'll find all of them that are, dodgy. And I was really not wanting podcasters to throw in the towel because a lot of them, they do 3 episodes, they're done, they do 10, and they're like, it's too much work. So I was trying to give tips on how to stay in the game. And that was the main purpose. And it started off kind of just me sharing 2 to 5 minutes. And then I said, yeah, I mean, I had a list of stuff, but I was kind of, I don't like the solo show. It's just not my thing. So I started doing kind of interviews and I said, okay, people can send in recordings as well. And I put up the recording, but there was not as many as I thought. I was hoping there'd be more recordings that people would send me. And then I could put up a show every day with someone else's tip because everybody's got some sort of thing that they know that are podcasters. There's always someone, every single person has one thing that they can do better than everybody else. And why not share it? So I didn't get that many. So I started doing the interviews. But what I've learned is, even though I'm doing it for 7 years, and I know a lot. I mean, I've like all six have been in the top 5%. Four got to the top 0.5%. And I've been number one in a load of countries and everything. So I kind of know what I'm doing regarding this. But
Apparently.
every time there's somebody on, I'm learning something new, and I love that because I know that if I'm learning something new, my listeners who are paying attention are learning something new as well. And if they start applying what we're saying, then their numbers can go up.
Love that. That's fantastic. I mean, those are, first, let me thank you for taking us through the creation of all these awesome podcasts that you have. Now we have to talk about the fact that, I mean, you are an incredible producer of podcasts in your own right. To have them in top 5% podcasts, 5% internationally on what, four of the six? I mean, those are ridiculous numbers. Those are fantastic numbers. Now, I know that you also teach people how to do this. You're a podcast coach, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So if I'm a podcaster and I have a podcast and I want to, get things going and be better at it, what do you offer to people? I think it's fascinating.
Well, I do. I kind of do two. One is kind of existing because sometimes people they'll come on, they'll get into it, and then they kind of think it's plateauing or it's not going where they want. So it's an easier one because they kind of have all the equipment and they understand it, and I can then listen to the show and kind of spot things that hey, cut out the intro, stop doing this, stop doing that, and then it'll benefit from that. And from the start, like sometimes people, if they're like a coach, they'll go boom, 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 boom. Whereas all my life, I've always kind of depends who I'm talking to and what kind of style they are. Some people are like, everything has to be perfect, and that's all right. And others are like, let's go. And that's good as well. I'll stay on the speed limit with them and just get everything done and just kind of be there. And one of the things I do as well is I give them my WhatsApp number because if you're podcasting, you don't want to wait till maybe if you're doing a weekly call or sometimes it could be every 2 weeks, whatever it is. But I'm there and they just send a voice message and they say, "Hey, I'm about to have somebody and they want to get my notes or they want to do this," and they just go back and they love that. They love that they can reach me, and I have the information. I go back and share it with them, and they're delighted with that. So I think it's kind of a different style that I do rather than you have to because what happened with me is I done everything myself and I brought in an engineer for about 4 hours how to do the audio on my first podcast, and then kind of started doing that. It was Audacity was the system I was using, and I just kind of developed and done the lighting and built it from there. And I'm kind of using every single thing that I've learned and constantly watching. Like I'd still go in by a course, I still go in by a book. I might get one thing out of it, but that one thing then I can share with other people. I don't get complacent,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I just enjoy it as well. And like I track everything. So that's something that I would say to all podcasts. I mean, I put it out on, BitChute, YouTube, and Rumble. And I know there's Audacity and there's other ones as well, and I track the number of shows and the downloads. So I have my averages. And because there's so much software out there telling you, okay, this is how many downloads they get. There's nothing that's accurate, right? So you cannot go by that because I've seen it where it was showing a lot more than I had and way below what I've had. And none of them is checking your YouTube channel. None of them is checking the other stuff. And even like say Spotify, with Spotify, with a few of them, and trust them to be honest with you, because a lot of the time you've gone, I'm in the charts in a lot of countries, and you're showing, very, and then you'd write to them, and then oh sorry, and then it jumps up 5,000. I mean that's, it's a strange one. So like the main thing is when you're tracking it yourself and you're looking at the different channels and just even the engagement, just somebody coming back, just making a little comment on the YouTube, and I just really enjoyed the episode, or giving you suggestions, that's enough. And like sometimes people, they're looking at the numbers and they think, oh, I'm only getting 20 per episode or 50 or whatever, just say 20. And they think they're a failure because they're comparing themselves with the big boys. Like from public speaking, you go into a room with 20 people. It's a nice experience to speak, and 20 people will give you your time to speak. And it's not a 7 minute speech. Sometimes it can be 45 minutes or an hour. And they're there, and you can look at the analytics, and sometimes you'll get 100%, and yeah, other times it'll drop off, and you kind of start learning by going, yeah, people don't like me talking about this thing, but like by doing that, you're paying total attention to the listeners, and if there's 20 people, say, and they're there next week, you should consider that a success. You've got 20 people. If you were going around doing a speech or going to, and there was 20 people turned up, and next week you say, I'll come back, who'd come? And 18 put up their hand and two new come. You keep doing it. But for some reason, when we look at it on the podcasting, we're just comparing ourselves with Mr. Beast and Joe Rogan and all these top boys, and we think we're a failure. And it's like, no, that's 20 people listening to your show. So I would advise people not to get too concerned about the numbers. I remember with the speaking, I think it was the third week I got to 100. And I was inside the Toastmaster meeting. Did you listen to it yet? Did you listen to it yet? As if it was like 100 was going to be great. And then it got to 1,000. And I remember with a few of the shows, I got to 1 million. And I was kind of like, no, I got, lots of millions of downloads. And it's not that I don't track it and I look at, but it's more about the averages are going up, and I'm making sure everything is okay. Because by tracking the averages, I go, what's going on there? Oh, I forgot to post it there. I forgot to share it. Because you could easily forget to share it to the 50 Facebook things. And I mean, I've got a team now that does the shorts and stuff like that. But just by paying attention to it, you'll make sure it gets to the right audience, and you might go from 20 to 25 to 30 or whatever it is, and just celebrate it. Don't be going, oh, when I get to 1 million or when I get to just little numbers. Oh, like the way I do it is I have a color coded. Yellow is 0.5% weekly, green is 1%, and then I make it purple because I don't want it red, because I know I don't want to be doing the traffic lights on it. Like, but purple if it's 2%. And if that's compounded, that's a lot. And I try to get as much purple as I can. But even if I see yellow, I'm happy. And just making little metrics like that will definitely help your show.
That's wonderful. That's absolutely wonderful. And I think you're right. I think people look at their numbers, they're obsessed with them. And when they see things like, oh, I've got 20, 30, 40 downloads, they feel like, oh, I have nothing. And they just never equate it to that. I've used that same example where it's, if you had that many people in a room and they were all listening to what you had to say, would you feel good about it? So I love that you're using that too. Now, to have a successful podcast, and then, of course, to hit top 5% status. I mean, there's a difference in jump in level there. Um, and I know you don't want to give away the secret sauce of, your program, because I mean, you sell this, so power to you. Is there maybe a little nugget you can give somebody in terms of, promoting their podcast? Maybe something that they should stay away from, or, maybe one good thing they could do, without giving away, what you do.
Well, I suppose a lot of the time, if we go for the marketing side, because there's sometimes, and I've been on shows with people and they're asking me, what's the one thing? And I go, it's not one thing, because a
Sure.
lot of people think I've got a special little button and I press and I'm doing this, and everyone, they go, and that's why you've got them all in the chat. I think it's consistency that you're doing. So one is the quality, right? You've got the quality. I mean, you've got the earphones there. You've got a good sound, and it's the quality is good. That's important. Where some people, they'll wing it and they just it's grand, and they put it out. I don't go, it's grand, So like consistency of making sure that you're putting out good quality sound.
Yeah.
That your lighting, whatever way that you set up. I mean, there's times people, they'll have it the dark room, and and it just doesn't look right, or they'll have a messy things. That's another thing. And like people spend time, like prior to recording, we discussed about, I told you that I listened to one of your show, I enjoyed the conversation. And like that's the thing as well. Whether you're a podcaster or you're going on a show, like respect both sides. That the person is like you've done your research. You know about what I'm doing, and the questions that you're asking, and make sure that you're doing that as well for your guests. Because if you're a host and you're just coming on and you're just shooting the breeze, people are just listening and go like if you look at the better ones, like I like listening to Patrick Bet David. They've got 20 pages of show notes. They've planned it up. There's a reason why they've got millions of downloads. That they're prepared. And I make sure, like when I'm doing something, like I'll go in, I'll check their YouTube, I'll check their X, I'll check their social media. Then I'd go into the YouTube, I go, okay, what's their best video? Why is it the best video? What's their shorts? And I have a form as well. And I go, is there something I should watch? Because before I'd be going away doing all this, I could look and just say you were coming on my show, I could look at say 20 videos and I could miss your best video. Whereas you know. And you could send, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the best producing. It could be not the views, but you know yourself, the content here was brilliant. It just didn't perform like the other. But you would send me that. And same with the books and stuff. Like I ask people, hey, if you're promoting the book, send me the book. And I'll read the book. And I have a great conversation then. And I'll touch on topics on the things. So I think that's one of the main ones is like a lot of times people, they'll say, okay, put it here, put it there, and market it. But if you're having a great conversation, people come back. And that's the most important thing. They want to look forward to your podcast. And then they might go, they're not going to share every episode, but there'll be one that'll really resonate with it and they'll send it to a few people. And the ripple effect, and that's how it does. And I always ask as well. So any of the podcasters, I mean, that's something I've done from the start. Hey, be sure to give me the 5-star rating or the review. And a lot of people don't. And I've learned that if you don't ask, you don't get. Simple things. And just, with the marketing, some people they'll spend hours preparing, they'll spend hours editing and having everything really brilliant, and then they'll just post it on a few things and then they're on to the next one. You should spend the same amount of time marketing it because like you need to find who's listening. And sometimes you're just if you're paying attention on social media and somebody mentions something, you go, oh, I done an episode on that. Go ahead, do a search. You go into your website. I mean, I can go into my website and I type the name of the person that comes up. I go, listen, yeah, I actually discussed this on the show, might be of interest. People then appreciate, hey, he's just wrote to me and he sent the thing. He's not trying to sell anything, he's just saying it. And by just that's compounded as well. And like, I mean, I told you about my real estate thing. At one stage, I was selling a tenement building to two guys, and we were going back to the car park, and they were like, "So what are you doing?" I said, "I'm podcasting." I said, "Do you have a do you have an iPhone?" Yeah, yeah. Open it there. Give me a 5-star review. Don't be afraid to ask for a review. And they did. And like at one stage, I had thousands of reviews, and that helps as well. Sometimes people think it's just the numbers, but the reviews help. And asking and just listen as well. Listen to the comments that you get. So there's about 20 different things, and just be consistent and just have systems in place. Like I couldn't do 6 from the start because it would have, like I was editing so much to start taking out all the ums and ahs and putting the pauses closer. And I was like, this is taking too long. you know, and then using software to do that and just go out as was. I was doing inserting and intro and outro. On one stage, I had the Polish one. I had a guy on my speaking. He was 16 in Toastmasters. You have to be 18, and I was really impressed with him. But he was a beatboxer as well, so he did a beatbox, and I put it on the Polish podcast. And like I thought it was grand, it's cool, And his episode on the speaking actually outperformed a lot of top speakers that have been on the show because he shared it. Sometimes people think you get the big boy, but when I removed the beatboxing a few years later, nobody said that to me. I got about 20 comments. Thanks, thanks. I'm delighted you removed that. It was like cringeworthy and all this. And nobody, so sometimes
Hmm.
we hear podcasts with the intro, the music, and here's your guest, da 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 da. And it's like, why do I need that? Like, I started paying attention to, okay, Joe Rogan, he just starts straight away, like Patrick Bet-David, a 30-second quick little thing, but then they're, and it's like, okay, so I even started not having an intro, outro that I put in later. Now I just go, hey, you find me here, scan the code, this is this, very fast. And then I'm into the conversation, introduce my guests. And you don't have the jump then. So if you're watching the analytics, what's going on? So if you see the analytics and you have music and everything and it's not affecting it, then they must like it. It must be good. But if you see skip, it goes down and up, people are skipping. And it's like, why put that in? Do they need to waste? Some people do a 5-minute intro with their music and playing a song and everything. And yeah, it might be passionate to you and everything, but does it really serve the audience? And always think of the audience. And even when you're having the conversation as well, sometimes you can get engrossed in the conversation and you forget about it. But I always think of the listener. And sometimes something could be discussed, and I'll know from the conversation if they said a certain word that maybe not everyone listens. So then I rephrase it or I go, oh, you mean this? Even though I know it, I'm always thinking of the listeners. And if you start thinking of the listeners, they'll feel heard, they'll feel connected, and then there's more chance of them sharing it as well. And like I love when I see people sharing your show on Facebook or something like that. I always go in and give them a heart or give them a caring symbol because I appreciate that they like the show so much, the episode, that they decided to share it on their own thing, and it's just acknowledged. I don't outsource my social media because I want, as in the comments, because you're so in touch with what you're doing that they won't know. And I know when someone is actually making a comment, if they're being critical or if they're giving a suggestion. So, and same with the editing, what I do is I edit every episode myself and I'm making show notes, and the show notes then are the timestamps that I send to the team that they then create the shorts. But yeah, you can get AI to do that. You can give that to somebody, but they're not in your head. And a lot of people want to offload that. And I think offload stuff that anyone can do. Keep control of the stuff that you know what is important.
Wow. I mean, I usually save that for the end and ask, hey, do you have any advice? But I mean, you just dropped an entire bag of gold for everybody. I feel like we just sat through one of your classes, brother. That was awesome. If somebody goes back and just replays that 4 or 5 times and just keeps taking notes, they've got an entire master class on how to be a better host and improve their podcast. That was amazing. You just whipped that out and just threw it out there. That was fantastic, man. All right. Well, hey, listen, I am a creature of habit. So even though you've already, given everybody so much, I always ask one corny question. And so it's kind of like, Arnold Schwarzenegger with his I'll be back thing in his movies, right? I always have to ask this question. Um, in terms of your podcasting, when doing your actual podcasts, what is it that you love the most? And what is it about doing all of your podcasts that you hate the most?
What I love the most is the conversations because I've changed my life based on conversations and learning something from people that specialize in a certain area. And same thing, I just kind of go, ooh, this is interesting. Then I'll delve further, but they would have stirred that to make me think differently. So having the conversation, just learning, continuous learner, that's what I love about it. I thoroughly enjoy that. What do I hate? I, I suppose sometimes it's the editing. Sometimes the conversation is brilliant to go back and you go, I love that. And even editing it, you're the fly on the wall this time, not fully present in the conversation. And it's great. But there's times that yeah, it's kind of just, it, it's, I'd rather if this was done rather than having to do it. So sometimes the editing can be kind of like, this is a bit of a churn, even though I like the process at times. At other times, I kind of go, it's sucking my energy. So that would be the right ones. And I'm not sure, do you find the same yourself?
Oh, I tell you what, I ask this question to everybody, like I said, and if you had to put the top 5 answers on the board of what things people hate, editing is number one. Just end of story. Across the board, number one. So for sure. And when someone who's as accomplished as you are in so many different ways says the same thing, I think you just validated everybody who said the exact same thing. So I appreciate that. I appreciate you. Roy, listen, I appreciate everything you've brought here today. It's been a fantastic conversation, and you've just given the listeners so much, and I can't thank you enough for that. But I'm going to go ahead and ask for one more thing. All right. In terms of every podcaster that's out there, um, and you've given a ton of different advice. So let me rephrase my question a little bit. Usually I just say, what's one piece of advice? You've given a ton. So I can't ask you that right now. What I will say is there any parting thought? Is there any something that you want to leave with folks that maybe we haven't talked about yet, that I haven't asked you yet, something that maybe is a leave behind? I'm going to give you the floor for the last minute or two, and go ahead and anything you want to leave behind for all of our podcaster listeners, um, go for it. It's yours, brother.
So what I would say is if you're not happy with what's going on in the world and you've got a skill set that you can actually bring and you don't have to be hitting millions, if you can change one life and you can make them think differently or not throw in the towel, you owe it to yourself to do a podcast. And even if you do it as a hobby and do one a week and just relax and do it, but you have a skill set that's going to ripple along because you don't know, you're not just helping that one person, their family, the whole family. And then it could get more and more and they'll share it. That even if you're not doing this just to make money, but to make the world a better place, you owe it to yourself, you owe it to humanity to start a podcast and get the information out.
And again, wow, I love that. Absolutely love that. I could not agree more, and I'm just going to leave it there. There's nothing left to say, brother. Host of 6 podcasts, podcast coach, Toastmasters, founded 20 companies in 5 countries. I can't even go over your resume in the time we have left because it's just too big and too long. Roy Collin, Roy, I can't even tell you. I'm almost speechless at this point because you've given us so much today. Thank you for coming on the program and giving what you did. It meant a lot.
Thank you very much. Thoroughly enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you so much. Folks, this is another absolutely fantastic episode of The Podcaster Nation. And I'm telling you, this guest today unloaded so much. Listen to this twice. Use pause, take notes. If you're trying to be a better podcaster tomorrow than you are today, this is the episode. This is the show for you. So check it out. Look it up. This is the place that is for podcasters. It's about podcasters and it's done by podcasters. This is the place where the rising tide truly raises all ships. And folks, keep sailing.